Assalamualaikum. Hi everyone. Now I will continue hybridization of molecule involving pi bond. First, let's recall how a covalent bond is formed. So there are two types of bond, which is sigma bond and pi bond. So kita dah discuss sigma bond in the previous video. Now I am going to continue with pi bond. So yang menentukan sesuatu bond tu sigma ataupun pi bond adalah cara orbitals overlap. If the orbitals overlap end to end, hujung ke hujung, maka sigma bond akan terhasil. But if the orbital overlap side by side, therefore pi bond will be formed. But for pi bond, it only involves p orbitals. Okay, now let's look at the next example. In a molecule C2H4, so this is the Lewis structure of C2H4. We have two carbon atoms and four hydrogen atoms. So after you draw the Lewis structure correctly, you will get a double bond between the two carbon atoms. So kalau lukis dia punya orbitals overlapping, so dalam setiap single bond mesti ada satu sigma bond. So there is a sigma bond between this carbon and hydrogen. Sama juga dekat sini. Yang ni pun sama. Okay, and then between the two carbon atom, wajib ada satu sigma bond. So disebabkan ada dua bond kat sini, so one of the bond is pi bond. Okay, so kat sini saya beritahu tadi untuk sigma bond, orbitals overlap end to end, hujung ke hujung. So kalau kita tengok gambar kat bawah ni, kita ada 3 sigma bond untuk carbon. So maksudnya each carbon atom akan ikut bentuk AB3 lah. So which is trigonal planar. So kita akan dapat bentuk trigonal planar untuk carbon ni. So macam yang awak nampak, antara kedua-dua carbon atom ni, orbitals overlap end to end, hujung-hujung. Okay, dapatlah sigma bond kat sini. Sama juga dekat sini, hybrid orbital of carbon ni overlap with s orbital of hydrogen. So antara kedua-dua ni pun ada sigma bond. So the same goes to this one here. So between the two orbitals overlapping, there will be a sigma bond. So samalah dekat sini. This one is also sigma. This one is also sigma. So walaupun orbital overlapping secara linear, tapi bentuk carbon ni masih berbentuk trigonal planar. Okay, ingat balik bentuk trigonal planar. And then macam yang saya beritahu tadi, antara both carbon atoms akan ada pi bond. So pi bond ni melibatkan orbitals overlapping side by side, sebelah menyebelah of the p orbitals. So sebenarnya antara kedua-dua carbon atoms ni ada p orbital yang tak hybrid sekali. Okay, so carbon atom ni ada satu pi bond ada satu p orbital. So p orbital bentuk dumbbell lah kan. So carbon yang ni pun ada p orbital. Okay, so kedua-dua p orbital ni overlap side by side, dapatlah bentuk ni. Okay, sebelah menyebelah, macam awak letak barang sebelah menyebelah lah. Bukan letak bertindih antara satu sama lain. Okay, so kat sini dapatlah pi bond. Okay, so kalau kita combine kedua-dua gambar ni, dapatlah sigma bond antara kedua-dua carbon ni dan pi bond antara both carbon atoms. Tapi untuk peringkat awak cuma kena lukis, awak tak perlu lukis cara orbital ni berkembang. Okay, so sebenarnya bila pi bond ni terhasil, so dia macam hybrid lah. Okay, mix antara kedua-dua orbital. Tapi untuk peringkat awak, cukup sekadar awak label that pi bond is formed. Okay, between the two carbon atoms. So untuk peringkat awak lukis macam ni je lah. Okay. Okay, so untuk yang ini, first awak kena step yang penting untuk hybridization. The first one is you have to draw the Lewis structure. Okay, next, class of molecule. Okay, whether the molecule is AB2, AB3, okay, ataupun sampai AB6 lah. Or involve lone pair. Next, you have to draw the correct geometry. Okay, lukis gambar mengikut geometri yang betul. Then, draw the orbital diagram of ground state, excited state, and hybrid state of the central atom. And lastly, draw the orbital overlap and state the number of sigma and also pi bond. Kalau ada lah pi bond. So now let's look at this example. This is the example in your lecture module, page 65. So given in your module, nitrogen molecule. So we have a triple bond between the two nitrogen atoms. So as I mentioned earlier, between each nitrogen atom, in each bond wajib ada satu sigma. So kalau ada satu sigma, lagi dua ni mestilah pi bond. Setiap bond wajib ada satu sigma bond. So selebihnya akan jadi pi bond. Okay, so disebabkan molekul ni melibatkan dua atom sahaja, so the shape is linear and the bond angle is 180 degrees. So now let's look at the ground state of nitrogen atom. So since nitrogen is in group 15, so it has 5 valence electron. So we have to draw the orbital diagram of the valence electron of nitrogen lah. So to S, to P, we have 3 electrons. Okay, so untuk excited state, so as we can see here, to make a sigma bond, we need orbital with 1 electron. So kalau kat sini kita tengok ada 3 kan, so cukup lah. Tak perlulah excite. So the ground state is equals to the excited state. Tak payah buat apa-apa, salin je semula. Ataupun sebenarnya excited state ni tak berlaku pun. Okay. Excite ni kalau contohnya petak ni tak cukup, barulah elektron akan lompat. Kalau tak ada elektron yang melompat, so sebenarnya excited state ni tak wujud lah. Next, the hybrid state. Kita nak tahu berapa banyak orbital yang nak kena hybrid. Okay, so macam yang last time saya ada bagi tahu, hybrid hari tu kan mixing of pure orbitals. So sebenarnya 2s dengan 2p ni has different energy. Okay, tapi kita hybrid kan sebab nitrogen nak buat bond. So memang kena hybrid lah. So berapa banyak orbital nak hybrid? So itu bergantung kepada bilangan sigma bond yang diperlukan. So since we only need 1 sigma bond, so kita hanya perlukan one of the orbital here. So kena combine dengan lone pair sekali. Okay. So kita akan hybrid 2s, one of the p orbital. Lone pair memang kena bawa sekali lah. Okay, so kat sini we combine 1s orbital and p orbital. So the hybrid state is sp. So lagi dua ni akan jadi apa? Yang ni lah kita akan panggil sebagai unhybrid p orbital yang akan menghasilkan pi bond. So next, nak lukis pula. To draw the hybrid state, okay, so kita tahu sp ni bentuk linear. Okay, so kita lukislah orbital yang berbentuk linear macam ni. Okay, so ni merujuk kepada nitrogen atom. So kat sini kita ada dua nitrogen atom dan salah satu orbital ni akan overlap end to end with another nitrogen atom. Macam ni lah jadinya. Okay, so ada dua elektron dalam ni. Okay ni, lone pair ni. Kat sini lah. This is the lone pair. Then one of the electron here will combine with one electron from the other nitrogen atom. So we will get a sigma bond here. Okay, next. For one nitrogen atom, there are two unhybrid p orbital. So p orbital bentuk dumbbell. So kita lukislah dua p orbital ada nitrogen. So kalau kita tengok bentuk sp ni nampak macam lebih kurang je dengan bentuk p orbital. So kita kena guna color berbeza lah nak bagi nampak lain kan. So ada dua p orbital on this nitrogen atom. Dalam setiap p orbital ada satu elektron. So lukislah satu elektron. So yang ni untuk satu nitrogen atom. So since we have two nitrogen atoms, so benda yang samalah perlu untuk this other nitrogen atom. So lukisan awak untuk p orbital yang satu lagi tu pastikan parallel dengan p orbital daripada nitrogen atom yang satu lagi. Supaya senanglah kita nak tunjuk dia punya orbital overlapping side by side. Okay, so kat sini lah p orbital untuk nitrogen. Now show the formation of pi bond. So, untuk pi bond, macam saya bagi tahu tadi, kita just tarik, tunjuklah yang parallel ni akan overlap with each other lah. Ni, yang ni kaki dia kan. Okay, so just will form a pi bond. Nak label atas bawah pun boleh, tak ada masalah. Okay, same goes to this here. Okay, yang ni dengan ni lah. Sepasang lah ni. So, dapatlah 1 sigma and 2 pi bond. Nyatakanlah. Okay, there is 1 sigma bond and 2 pi bond between the nitrogen atoms. Now let's look at oxygen. This is the Lewis structure of oxygen. So the valence electron of oxygen is 6 valence electrons. So let's complete the orbital diagram for the valence electrons. So we have 6 electrons. So 2 electron into S and 4 electron into p orbital. For the excited state, okay, since here we have one sigma bond and one pi bond, so kita tak perlu nak excitekan lah. Okay, there is no need for the electron to jump and sebenarnya memang tak ada tempat pun nak lompat sebab untuk n equals to 2 sampai p orbital je kan. So, kita akan copy baliklah yang kat atas ni. S to P. Next, for the hybrid state, since there is only one sigma bond, so kita kena ambil petak yang ni lah. Termasuklah lone pair. So, we combine one s orbital and two p orbital, so jadilah sp2. So for sp2, the shape is trigonal planar and the bond angle is 120 degrees. Now let's draw the hybridization. So trigonal planar, bentuk dia macam ni lah. Okay. This is an oxygen atom. Okay, with two lone pair. Okay. So kita nak overlapkan dengan another oxygen atom. Okay, so one electron from oxygen here will combine with one electron from the other oxygen. So lone pair daripada oxygen satu lagi pun sama je lah. Because the oxygen is identical. Okay, so here we have a sigma bond. Yang ni lah. Next, to show the pi bond. Okay, so kat sini kita ada unhybrid. Okay, unhybrid p orbital. So kena tunjuklah the unhybrid p orbital that actually will form the pi bond. Okay, now let's show the pi bond. So just draw a p orbital anywhere on the oxygen atom. Guna color berbeza lah, nak nampak beza. So we have one electron in the p orbital. So sama jugalah dengan oxygen satu lagi. And make sure the two p orbital is parallel to one another. So kat sini kita boleh tunjuk that these two orbitals overlap side by side to a pi bond. Now let's continue with the next example, C2H4. This is in page 123 in your module tutorial. So this is the Lewis structure of C2H4. So here we can see that there are three sigma bonds in each carbon atoms. So this carbon has three sigma bond. This carbon also has three sigma bond. And between the two carbon atoms, there is a pi bond. So we can see here, since there are three sigma bonds, so the class of molecule is AB3. So the geometry is trigonal planar and the bond angle is 120. For the ground state, there are 4 valence electrons in carbon. So we have 2 electrons into S and 2 electrons into P. Now we need 3 sigma bond, but we only have 2 orbitals with 1 electron. So what we have to do here is this electron here will jump to the p orbital. So we have 4 orbitals with 1 electron. So now for the hybrid state, since we only require 3 sigma bonds for each carbon atom, so we will only hybrid the 3 orbitals. So it becomes sp2 because we only hybrid 1 s orbital with 2 p orbitals. So this one will become unhybrid p orbital that will form pi bond. Now let's draw. So we know that the shape is trigonal planar. So let's draw the shape of trigonal planar. Okay, this is carbon again, and then the other carbon here. Okay, this is the other carbon atom. So we have one electron in each orbital for the carbon atoms. Now, between this carbon and hydrogen, there is a sigma bond, and since the hydrogen is in the electron of hydrogen is in s orbital, so we have to draw the orbital of hydrogen. So we have completed all the sigma bond. So label all the sigma bond here. Now we have pi bond, which is from the unhybrid p orbital. So one electron in the p orbital. So this orbital will overlap side by side and form a pi bond. So two sp2 hybridized carbon approach and overlap with each other. They form a sigma bond and resulting a trigonal planar. Please add another point. This is point number 1. So point number 2. This is the ground state of carbon. Carbon has 4 valence electrons. So we have 2 electrons into S and 2 electrons into P. So since we need to make 2 sigma bond, in between C and H there is a sigma bond, and between C and C there is another sigma bond. So each carbon atom requires 2 sigma bond. Okay, but why do we have to excite the electron? Since there is no lone pair on the carbon atoms, therefore we have to excite the electron here so that 2 pi bond can be formed. So for the hybrid state, since we require only 2 sigma bonds, so we will hybrid one s orbital and one s orbital and one p orbital and become sp hybrid orbital. The other 2 p orbitals will become unhybridized p orbital that will form the pi bond in C2H2. Now let's draw. Since the shape is linear, so just draw a linear orbital. So draw the electron. The sp hybrid orbital contain one electron here and here. The other carbon atom contain also one electron here and here. Now let's complete the sigma bond in hydrogen. So label the hydrogen atom and show the electron from hydrogen. So we have a sigma bond here and a sigma bond between C and H, and also a sigma bond between the carbon atoms. Now we have 2 unhybrid p orbital in each carbon. The overlapping of p orbitals side by side will form 2 pi bond. So here, each carbon atom uses 2 sp hybrid orbitals to form 1 pi bond. So just add another point about the pi bond. That's all. Hopefully it helps you to understand better about the pi bond.